All right, everybody. Stocks by the numbers. Welcome back. Quick update here on SoundHound AI Incorporated, ticker symbol SOUN, listed here on the NASDAQ. Voice AI company, couple of million invested from Nvidia going back several years. Obviously, that was disclosed. The stock started running, but overall, the revenue has been climbing nicely. And I know we recently looked at this company just a couple of weeks ago when they reported earnings. Came in with a loss of 11 cents a share on estimates of only 8.8 cents. So posted a wider than expected loss, but the revenue steadily coming in at or above expectations for the most part and climbing nicely year over year. 13.462 million on estimates of 13.085 mil. But I just wanted to do just a quick recap here because this is a company that I mentioned on multiple occasions that whether it was back here at 2 or it's sitting up here in the 4s and the 5s, in my opinion, I do see a lot of long-term growth potential with SOUN. And they seem to be consistently signing new deals, collabing with new companies, and it basically just seems like it's slowly and surely, almost inevitably, but of course nothing's guaranteed, but in my opinion, it seems inevitable that they will just slowly continue to expand their footprint and just gain more and more revenue over time. They already increased their fiscal year guidance now on the revenue side for 2024, and they had the recent acquisition of Amelia, as you see earlier this month, for 80 million. And also I saw another article saying that Amelia was holding like 160 million in cash. So seems like a win-win so far for SoundHound. And of course they're going to tap into the customer service of Amelia, and obviously that's going to bump up revenue moving forward. But if we just check out some recent news articles here, so you're seeing a lot of these headlines here. One strong buy AI stock under $10 with 50% upside. They talk about a lot of smaller cap AI stocks that still have more potential moving forward, and SoundHound seems to be kind of consistently mentioned. The SoundHound have the potential to rally 47% as Wall Street analysts expect. Lowest estimate of $6 is about a 16% increase. This article was written a little over a week ago. Most optimistic analysts expect stock to surge almost 85% to reach 950. And in my opinion, that is possible again. So if we simply look at how much revenue the company is bringing in and the current market cap, then I can appreciate the fact that some people are kind of waiting for that sell-off and that breakdown to happen. And also, reminder, we talk about the gap up that took place initially on the news that was back at around 243 a share, I believe. So that gap fill, of course, can happen at any moment. And I mentioned that the markets have been climbing significantly just over the last 18, 20 straight months or whatever it's been. No, my apologies. It was we've been up steadily really during this entire administration, which kind of throws me for a loop. I know I mentioned that, but more importantly, since basically the beginning of November, the market has been on the up and up. And now we know that there's a lot of nonsense. I don't want to call it nonsense, but there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of news coming out overseas, who's at war, who has an issue, and of course we're in election year here in the States, so markets may get a little volatile here over the next couple of months, or potentially they may wait until elections or after elections and then begin to sell the market off throughout November and December. So time will only tell, but that's why I'm saying I always mention that, because I mention that if a stock could go down, it most likely will go down, especially if markets, for the most part, begin to sell off. So now with the Dow at whatever, 41,000 or whatever it is, if we start pulling back to like 36K, 34,000, yes, like practically every stock across the board can take a haircut. So that's why we say you're never going to get, the lowest price. You're never going to sell at the highest price. But something like SoundHound, in my opinion, definitely more of a longer term play. So in my eyes, I would be just accumulating shares and building a position moving forward. Consensus price target is highly sought after by investors. We're moving. See, despite the rally, why is this AI stock under $10 still a great buy? Small cap soar, 3 Russell 2K stocks doubling investor wealth in 2024. There's SoundHound, 139% year to date. Recent acquisition of Amelia expands its reach into new AI verticals. Average price target 667. Tapping into the future of AI-driven customer experiences, promising exciting developments ahead. So this is why I say, in my opinion, SoundHound seems to be on the up and up, not only in the moment, but also moving forward. Small cap AI stocks on the rise, 3 hidden gems you shouldn't miss, right? We were talking about the stock back when it was, in the 3s and the 2s. I mean, it had a pump when we first started looking at it. I think it went from like 2 up to around 5, and then it started to pull back. It was in the 3s, it was back in the 2s. A lot of people, right, probably thought, the run is over. It was short-lived. It was fun while it lasted. And now all this news starts coming out again. Nvidia has a couple of mil invested into the company and has been pretty bullish and supportive of SoundHound going back, I believe it was since like 2017. And again, the company basically just continues to roll out these new products, these new services. Again, they have the voice AI assistant in the automobiles now, collabing with NVIDIA. And so you can have assistance whether you have network connectivity or no network connectivity. They started rolling out their AI software across multiple fast food franchises that we spoke about. Like White Castle, I remember, was one of them, but obviously there were many more. And this is why I say, slowly but surely, I feel personally that, the word is going to spread, people are going to see how efficient it is, and they're going to probably start incorporating it somewhere down the line in their business. And also, I speculated about the healthcare AI industry as well. So there are many, many more sectors where I feel that SoundHound AI software and services could be applicable. So it could really just begin to snowball over the next several years. Zacks, as you see, has like a 1.3 rating or whatever it said. They feel it's a buy. Grab this AI stock under $10 after its, quote, transformative acquisition, right? Bar chart, again, Bar Chart's been putting out a lot of these articles highlighting SoundHound. Driving the success of multiple tech companies. SoundHound is a prime example of this trend. Company captured massive investor attention over the last year, aggressive acquisition strategy, and expanding AI solutions with the speech and voice recognition market. Spotlight intensified this year. Chip giant NVIDIA, 13F, disclosed roughly 3.7 million stake in SOUN. Dramatic surge in the company shares. Also at the same time, we had SoftBank at the same time came out and said, I believe it was about a 9% stake that they moved now. I forgot what they sold. I think Big Commerce, BIGC. I think they liquidated that position and they rolled it into a 9% stake in SOUN right now. So this is why I feel that a lot of these larger institutions are probably more than likely, in my opinion anyway, the way I do it, is I'd position myself here now, start to accumulate shares, and then obviously 2-3 years down the road, who knows how much of a great call that can really turn out to be. NVIDIA's backing of SoundHound runs deep, $75 million venture investment in 2017 to its pivotal role as a strategic investor when Sound debuted via SPAC in 2022. NVIDIA has been a steadfast ally, highlighting the chip giant's continued confidence in SoundHound's future. And we also spoke about as well how the CEO went on record and said that they were approached multiple times in the past. Right? And I mentioned that as well, which is why I said, in my opinion, it is probably pretty advantageous to get in now, early, and either A, the business is going to keep doing these small acquisitions and keep expanding its footprint, and obviously gain more and more market share and potentially expand into other sectors. Again, we have fast food, we have automobiles, we could potentially have healthcare. Who knows how far this can go? So on one hand, you have that potential growth over the next couple of years. So there's value there, right? On the flip side as well, with everyone kind of knowing that there's that growth and that potential moving forward, because they were approached multiple times in the past, that also solidifies, in my opinion, that there is value here. And now if the stock really starts bringing in even more revenue, and they're saying about 80 million for this year, potentially 100 plus million for 25. So what I'm saying is, as the revenue is going to consistently be increasing and just flooding and rolling over, growing and growing year over year, it may be a larger tech player like an Nvidia, who already has their sights and their support behind SoundHound, who may step in and just say, you know what, this is going to be pretty big. We should just incorporate you into our umbrella of our company. And you know what, here's whatever, 4 billion, here's 5.2 billion. Let's just buy you out right now. And, we can hit the future years together. All right. So this is why I'm saying, in my opinion, it really seems like this growth is inevitable over the next few years. Or on the flip side, they could potentially be a buyout candidate, which the CEO already stated that they are. But bar chart article here again, basically highlighting, hey, listen, stocks under $10, they're doing some good things. Zach article again. SoundHound AI price target maintained $7 a share. HC Wainwright stock right now sub 5. We're looking at SoundHound beat expectations. This was right after earnings. Company raised its full year and 2025 revenue guidance. Following the print, Wedbush analyst said SoundHound, quote, continues to see demand for its voice AI products pick up across its automotive and restaurant segments, signing various large brand deals, fueling growth while grabbing market share in the conversational AI market. SoundHound acquisition of Amelia, said it would accelerate and scale its customer service offering and adds the potential to expand across healthcare, financial services, and retail sectors. So now just imagine, with the slow growth that we're seeing, as they mentioned, in the restaurant automotive segments, now imagine if we start rolling out into the healthcare sector. Now we're tapped by the financial institutions, right? Now it's deemed viable and efficient in the retail sector. Now this is why I'm saying, if these deals continue to be signed and they continue to expand and really branch out, the sky is the limit, so to speak. Dan Ives described Amelia as, quote, an enterprise AI software company which has 45 plus million in recurring AI software revenue that will improve Sound's position within voice and conversational AI while expanding into new verticals such as retail, financial, healthcare, smart devices, and more. So it seems like it was a very good call for SoundHound to step in and just acquire Amelia. SoundHound prediction, 1 year price target 725, but we know this constantly changes. Wedbush 9, Northland Capital $6 a share. But for the most part, again, everyone seems pretty bullish here. Again, Northland Capital raises price target from 5.5 up to 6. Maintains market perform. Yeah, right when these earnings came out, analysts were more upbeat, it seems, about the Amelia acquisition. This analyst upgraded from neutral to overweight, rose price target from 5 to 7. AI reported, quote, solid results for the second quarter, 13.5 mil. Management raised full year guidance to at least 80 million and introduced a 2025 target of 150 million, right? So I believe it was about, I want to say, I don't remember. I think it was like 100, maybe 100 to 110 million maybe. But now you can see the 2025 target 150 million. But of course, that's with the addition of the Amelia revenue now coming in as well. But still very nice growth. Even on the small acquisition of Amelia, we can see we're going from, they're saying at least 80 million. So they're pretty confident in that 80 million mark. So if they're bringing in 80 to 90 million, but now they're forecasting 2025 revenue of 150 million, I mean, what are we talking? We're talking like 70, 80% growth in revenue year over year. And again, if they're speculating that they're going to potentially branch out now into healthcare and retail, then for all we know, the 2026 revenue mark may be another almost double, right? It may be 70, 80, 100% from this 150 million mark. So 2026 revenue may potentially be like 270, 290 million. And when analysts and institutions alike start to see that significant growth in revenue year over year, that's when they decide, to really start bumping up the price targets, or potentially start to take a position for themselves or their clients. 2025 target of 150 million, quote, primarily related to today's acquisition of Amelia. This could be, quote, transformative acquisition for the company, as it brings a very high profile customer base and a sizable sales force that SOUN can rely upon to meet what it characterizes as overwhelming demand. Acquisition was attractively priced. Right, as they said, they paid what, 80 million for the company, and they're holding more than that in cash right now, even taking out their debt of like 39 million or whatever it was. Continues to see demand. Company also announced plans to acquire Amelia. Yep. Cash and equity. 45 million in recurring AI software revenue. Yeah, see, the original guidance was 65 to 77 million, but now they said, right, they're looking for at least 80 million. So we're well above the top end of the range, if not even further. So now it's more probably like 80 to 85 million, in my opinion, is now the new range, which percentage-wise is a pretty big jump from this low end of the range of 65. Analyst buy rating, 9.5. Yep, 54% revenue growth year over year on this 13.5 million. Interest remains profound. Yep. See, customer service space beyond restaurants. Quote, we are confident in management's ability to effectively integrate Amelia and see significant benefits from its deep customer relationships across industries and supplemental technology. So, I mean, we did technically get a lot of this news right after our last video, when everyone was kind of pretty bullish after seeing this this news on not only earnings, but on the Amelia acquisition as well. So I just wanted to do a quick update here and just look at some recent news articles, and of course look at the chart as well. Annual run rate of queries grew by 90% year over year to over 5 billion. Yep. 2025 revenue again. Look at the original estimate here. Now again, they of course weren't able to take in the Amelia acquisition revenue, right? They weren't really able to take that into account, but they were looking for 103.5 mil, right? And they're saying 45 plus mil right now of recurring revenue from Amelia. So if we add 45 mil to that, it would be 148.5 million, and they're saying revenue is going to exceed 150 million. So even looking at the original estimate, if we add the 45 million from the Amelia acquisition, we're still technically guiding above that number of the original estimate. So right now it seems like 24 and 2025 are both going to be years that SOUN has probably a very good chance. I'd say probably 3 out of 4 quarters of both years are probably going to be, you know, well above analyst expectations. 80 million. Combined revenue, yep. Amelia over 45 million recurring revenue. In the second half of 2025, combined company holds 160 million in cash and 39 million in debt. So even if we subtract that, you're sitting at about 120 mil, and they paid 80. And of course get the revenue as well. So this is why when I saw news about this, of course I did a quick update video, but I just want to kind of re-highlight of what is potentially kind of on the horizon over the longer term moving forward now for SOUN. So I know we talk about a lot of companies on this channel, and people ask me all the time, what would be one company that you would consider building a position in? What company do you think has some of the most growth potential over the next 3 or 5 years? And based on what I'm reading, again, a lot of these stocks do look very good. But in my opinion, I think SoundHound has the most potential for growth. Because again, the numbers are inevitably now coming in above estimates. They're going to consistently keep growing moving forward. And you have NVIDIA backing them and supporting them. And again, they were approached multiple times, so now they're a buyout target as well moving forward. So anything can happen. This is why I'm saying, in my opinion, I think SOUN really has some of some of the highest potential moving forward. Initial SPAC valued at 2.1 bill. It laid off nearly half its workforce, secured additional funding to stabilize. Its sale is notable. Yeah, it's gonna end up being good for both companies probably. Cantor Fitzgerald, analyst, upgraded SoundHound AI, neutral to overweight, raised price target from 5 to 7. And we know Wedbush up there with 9. So most people seem pretty bullish on SoundHound. And this was basically when they reported earnings. And that's when we looked at them last, was on August 8th. But also, again, from the initial pop here on the news of that NVIDIA investment, we did gap up, and that's why I say you come down here, you're looking at like 244, 243. You do potentially have that gap fill. So if you look from that point, mid-February, we went, when we gapped up to 3+, and then we ran to 10.25, and you can see we've just kind of been channeling sideways inside of what appears to be a kind of like a 6-month symmetrical triangle. Now the issue is, of course, as we know, symmetrical triangle isn't necessarily bullish or bearish, right? So as much as we might like the company, and we see that growth over the years, we can approach this apex and potentially break down and fill that gap before we come back up and then try to run higher to the 6s and the 7s again. So anything can happen, but you can see how tight and how flat it's been as the stock approaches some of these key trend lines that I've pointed out in the past. So in my opinion, it'll probably stay in this range. However, again, looking at the numbers, 1.75 billion market cap, company forecasting 80 million for the year in revenue. So technically, if we look at it like that, this is why I'm saying we can potentially break down out of this triangle and start to drop and approach that gap fill before we bottom out, and then everyone steps in and buys the dip and we bring it right back to $4 or $5 a share. But right here, it seems like this is obviously the bottom line of the symmetrical triangle that you have to keep an eye on. Right here immediately over the next day or two moving forward, looks like about $4.10 a share. If we come all the way out to the apex, which seems to be about the first week of October, you're looking at maybe a low of about $4.30 at this bottom line before we can potentially break. Obviously, if we channel in and then pop up, you're going to go to this trend line here, technically, about 540. And then, of course, we have this key level here looking like about 560, 568, 570. And of course, if we get back to that resistance level, we may pop up again because that was the initial rally up, right? We closed above this line, and you can see we shot up immediately from 5.5 up to 8. And then we came down, broke below it, tried to retest, and then when it got back above the line and closed above it, that's when it took the next leg higher and got up to 10. So in my opinion, this purple trend line here would be a key level on the bullish side if we happen to break upward. And I'll go back and show you just one more time. That was from, looks like the highs of February 8th, 2023, connecting to the highs of June 29th, 2023. And that's just cutting across, and you can see that seems like a key level to really propel the stock to the next high, right? So if we do break up 568, 570, and then if we close above it like we did back here, we can potentially see $7.5, $8 a share again, just like we did back here. And then we can retest and then potentially bounce after the RSI comes in check, and we can shoot back up to 10 potentially. But I do just want to keep reminding and highlighting this potential gap up and this potential gap fill at about 243 that can take place. And I know the chart is messy, but again, bear with me. But let's switch over to stock charts real quick. I'll let you go. We can see on the daily here, RSI basically flat here, middle of the road, sitting at about 50. And again, the tightening of the Bollinger Bands last time resulted in a drop. And you can see we're channeling in here again, and we're starting to tighten up with the Bollinger Bands as well, which is why, pending if some sort of positive catalyst comes out over the next month or two before the stock approaches the apex of that symmetrical triangle, we can potentially, off of this tightening and the apex, potentially have a break up as opposed to a break down. But the good news as well is the 200-day moving average, as you see, was basically right at this gap fill at about 242. And now it's slowly run up. Now it's above 4. It's sitting at 409. So even if we break, again, we may not completely drop down. And if we immediately break down to this 200-day of 409, again, I mentioned that the bottom of this triangle now over the next couple of days, you can see September 4th, right? Just the next couple of days, you can see we're looking at like 412, 410, right? And this moving average is 409. So if it takes a couple of days and starts to break down, it may meet up with this moving average and this trend line at about 410 and then have a nice healthy bounce back up. So only time will tell, but the MACD seems pretty quiet here, technically slowly trending back to the downside, but you know, again, we are technically at like the top half of the range of this triangle, so we can start to pull back and sell off a little bit. Only time will tell. Switching over here to the weekly, same thing. This is why everyone, I think, is just kind of sitting on their hands, just kind of waiting. Because I feel like there are a lot of traders out there who are watching this, and they're just waiting for a break of, you know, sub 4, the mid 3s, low 3s. Then they're going to step in and they're going to use their cash to build a position. But for the most part, people who got in earlier down here in the 2s, or even recently at, you know, 470, 520, they're not really seeing much movement here since they got in. So a lot of people are, again, just kind of probably just sitting and waiting to see what happens. But here we can see the multiple bounces here, 3 weeks in a row off of the mid Bollinger Band here. So the stock does also have some bullish tendencies on it as well. And despite being flat, basically, since earnings, right, we had the run up and then we just flattened out. But for the most part, we've been above the mid Bollinger Band or sitting right at it now for about the last 3 straight weeks. And also the 50-day moving average here, 476. You can see we dipped down and bounced off, almost tested it, and then ran up to the top Bollinger Band. And you can see it looks like it just kind of retested it recently, and then it popped back up, and it's just kind of been flattening out now, hanging out at the mid Bollinger Band. So again, anything can happen, but in my opinion, I have a feeling it looks a little more bullish than bearish here in the technicals in my eyes. And let's check the pivot points real quick. I'll let you go. And you can see, yeah, we had multiple rejections. I tried to get above this pivot point here of 512, ended up rejecting, but still above the 50-day. So we can maybe break up out of the triangle, get to this level of 642 maybe in the shorter term. In the longer term, you can see we have a pivot point here of 4.5, which is essentially kind of cutting the symmetrical triangle in half almost. So the middle of the triangle is basically a pivot point. So that's why it looks like it broke below it, and then it reclaimed it, and then it got above, and then it broke below, and then it, right? And then up and down, up and down. So we're kind of in this sideways kind of seesaw, and we're going to slowly tighten up, tighten up, tighten up, and then the break up or down is going to happen. But even on the breakdown, again, you can see the 50-day from that initial news back in February. The 50-day moving average now has gone from about 2.5, now it's up to about 3 3/4. So that's why even if we do break down, we're looking, yeah, it's like here, which would kind of be, right, one of the first pauses that we potentially saw on the first run-ups, right? We started to run up. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. Yeah, see how it came down? Look, it came up here, and look, closed on this candle, 376. Open, 372. Low, 366. Close, 377, right? So this seems low, 368. So that's why where that moving average is here, that can potentially be the low on the break. If it doesn't all the way gap fill to 243, we may pull back to like 366, 373, where these candles closed and bounced, and then we can potentially start to rebound. So only time will tell, but again, we know that any stock can go down at any time. Can the stock go back into the twos? Absolutely. At the same time, if we get news of new clients, new contracts signed, expanding into different segments, then yes, that is going to help pop the stock back up as well. But I still say you have to deal with this short term volatility to look for that long term growth. And in my opinion, I think SoundHound has some pretty decent growth potential over the next couple of years, whether it's on its own merits or if it's on potential bidding war that can take place between maybe Nvidia or any other company. Really, could be AMD, could be Apple. Who knows, right? Who knows? But just wanted to do a quick update there on SoundHound, and I'll end it there. So once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they are very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for your time. Have a good weekend.